This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Well, here we are. The Thanksgiving week has arrived, which means everybody's buys are done in the NFL. It's time to put up the playoff picture when you talk about the standings. You know, it's the playoff picture being up too early is like Christmas decorations on Halloween. Wait for your time. The time has arrived. We're at the money part of the season. I didn't introduce everybody. You know Tony Dungy, Mike Florio, and Rodney Harrison, so you guys need no introduction. This was such a good Sunday because each slot had a big game. Seattle, Philly, the Sunday night game with the Packers and the 49ers, and that late afternoon game with the 11 Super Bowl titles represented by the Cowboys and the Patriots. What was your takeaway from the Patriots win, Tony?
I think you really see it demonstrated how tough it is to win late season games up in New England. Cowboys have a good team, but going up there, you got to be on point in everything. And the Patriots are playing to their strengths. Special teams and defense, they're going to be very, very tough to beat up in New England. Even Baltimore, if they have to go up there, they're going to have a tough time.
Yeah, and I flip it over to the Cowboys. We have learned and continue to learn that they just can't win big games. They have beaten a lot of teams that you look at in hindsight are bad teams. They have failed against all the good teams they faced, and they lost to the Jets. But you could hear it in Jerry Jones' voice. He's getting frustrated. He's getting impatient. He's blaming the coaching. And Jason Garrett's contract expires at the end of the season.
Can I play what Jerry said after the game? Yep. I'm actually not going to play it. People who professionally can play it are going to play it. We'll react to it.
When you're on a sloppy day, special teams can rule the day. And they've got a coach that knows how to play this game and did a good job of that. My hat's off to him. I don't think there's a game that a coaching staff has areas that it couldn't do better in. And I just don't like it that we've got so many as I'm standing here tonight.
As a player, react to that.
Well, it's really disappointing because I know he's trying to critique and criticize the coaching staff, but it really affects the players because now the players go in the locker room and these reporters walk up to them and they have to constantly answer questions about what the owner said. And it takes away your focus because you got a game in 4 days and you want to really be focused on the game and, you know, and continue to build that bond with your coaching staff. And you're still in first place in the NFC East, Coach.
But I think he's really frustrated by just what Mike said. Every time we play a good team, we come up a little bit short. What is the problem? What is the issue? And he's paying a lot of money to these players. He thinks he's got some star power, and they just can't beat good teams.
I mean, they've beaten the Giants twice, Washington, Miami, Detroit. Philadelphia is the one team that's decent that they've beaten. So the teams that they've beaten have a winning percentage of 25%. The teams they've lost to have a winning percentage of 75%. There's a real clear line of delineation, Mike, of who they have beaten and where they are. They're an above-average team, but not a great team.
And Shireen Williams, who works with us now at PFT but covered the Cowboys for years with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, she said that Tuesday morning will be critical. That is when Jerry Jones does his weekly spot on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, 8:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, must-listen radio, because if he hasn't calmed down by then, it is really bad news for Jason Garrett. And there's a chance he won't be calmed down by then. Once you cross that bridge, if you're Jerry Jones, it's hard to walk it back.
And this Thursday, Buffalo coming in with a good team, good record, at home, Thanksgiving. This is a must-win for the Cowboys.
So there's a part of me that's saying, wait a minute, there were 2 tripping calls in this game. There were 4 all year in the NFL. There were 3 this week, 2 of them against the Cowboys in this game. Neither call was clear tripping.
No, ridiculous calls. Let's go and say they were bad calls.
I like when Tony walks out on the limb farther than me. It makes me feel so much more confident. So my point is, they had a chance to beat the Patriots in Foxborough on a terrible weather day. So they're not that far away if the Patriots are 10-1 and one of the best teams in the league, right?
Well, I mean, it's easy to say that, Mike, because the weather was so bad and both teams struggled with the weather. But I think he has an important decision to make at the end of the year because you have to look after paying $90 million to Ezekiel Elliott, and he doesn't look like the same player. Now you have to make a decision on Amari Cooper, who's going to want $20 million a year.
And Dak Prescott.
And Dak Prescott.
Yeah, but they can win. They can win this division. Right. Philadelphia is struggling mightily. They can get in the play. They will have a home playoff game.
Well, he's the one that's panicking.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. I'm sitting back saying I see what he's frustrated with, but I don't feel like this is just not. It's over for these guys.
But it's not. But what he's saying and what he is seeing with his eyes. When is the last time we've beaten a really good football team?
Yeah. And the closer they get, the more frustrated he gets when they don't get it done. And today was the closest they've gotten to really, really legitimizing themselves.
And what beat them today? A block punt by Matthew Slater. That's the difference in the game.
And talk about Slater for a second, Rodney, if you don't mind, because he's one of your old teammates, and he always seems to come up with these plays. It's amazing how he has survived on special teams to be a difference maker still.
To me, it's really not a surprise, Mike, because if you see his work ethic, if you see his work, you know, in the weight room, on the field, grabbing guys and saying, hey, guys, let's go up in here and watch film, it's really no surprise. He's so committed. He's a leader. People look up to him, and he works his butt off.
And one last thing real quick about the tripping calls. I can't remember who said it during the game, but somebody made a great point. That's a direct result of the Patriots working the refs. I can't remember who said it, but that, you know, you tell them, watch the trip, watch the trip.
You want me to volunteer?
I couldn't remember. Okay, I was waiting for a hand.
I was just going to let it go.
Up. Mike Tirico said it. It's a direct result of the brilliance of Bill Belichick. Work the refs, work the refs, work the refs, get the calls.
Were there situations where you would let the officiating crew know, hey, we saw this on tape, call the league office during the week, just to put it in their minds?
You would, but more than that even, what happens is the officials missed some calls last week. And my guess is they missed a tripping call somewhere along the line, and then they get the memo, hey, we've got to watch tripping. And now you see these tripping calls that aren't calls.
Fascinating.
You know, we saw roughing the passer today, too, that was just out of left field. And so I always used to not joke with the official, but I would say, tell me what the memo was this week. You guys got a memo from someone so I can alert my players because you're going to call something that isn't there because you've been warned about it.
I had an opportunity to talk to a Patriots player earlier before the game, and they said, hey, we love these conditions. We love when teams have to come to us, especially dome teams, because they're not used to the weather, and they typically don't play well.
You saw Dak. He didn't start the game with a glove, put one on, was messing with one during the second quarter. You know, you would think in those situations. That's why coaches will take their teams outside, even if they are dome teams or cold weather teams, knowing what they might have to face during the year. So you have number 2, Tony.
I do. In the other big game in the early rounds, what did we learn from the Seahawks-Eagles game?
You know, I think, you know, all along I've been talking about how well the offense plays, but I've been kind of underestimating their defense. And to me, their defense was just flying around the front seven, the secondary making big plays. I think their defense played a lot better than what I thought they would play.
Well, to me, Philadelphia was mortally wounded. They had no receivers that could get open and threaten them. So everything was run game and shut that down. Philadelphia, just until they get healthy on offense, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, Rodney and I were trying to figure out how much blame to put on quarterback Carson Wentz. It's hard to put much of the blame on him when he doesn't have Deshaun Jackson, who's been on IR. Alshon Jeffrey's out today. Nelson Aguilar's out today. It can't just be Zach Ertz in the passing game.
I think they really, truly miss Frank Wright. I think he's a heck of a play caller, and I think, you know, Doug Peterson, I think he misses Frank Wright.
Interesting.
Well, you know who else they missed today? Lane Johnson, too.
Yeah,
that front, there was not a lot of protection.
Guys,
Nick Foles.
Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Wentz getting banged up in that game, but he checked out okay because he came back in the game.
X-rays were negative, but they were going to do more testing. You know, you never know. You get an MRI on there, what may be ripped or torn that isn't going to show up when you're just looking for broken bones, so we'll have to wait and see.
Philadelphia does have a little bit easier schedule than Dallas does, so they could work their way to Week 16 where they could pull even with the Cowboys. So not out of question, even though they're playing poorly and they're under 500, that they can still be the division winner. After I just gave you all the, I think Dallas is okay for 10 minutes, I can turn it around and let you know Philly's okay, too.
And meanwhile, the 49ers better keep winning because the Seahawks are right there. One false move by the 49ers, and the Seahawks are going to be the number 1 seed.
But Seattle's gone on the road and won 6 games, including a couple of trips east. This was supposed to be a Sunday night game, which means no time clock difference. 10 a.m. on your body clock for the no problem. Defense in a run game, travel well. Russell hit 1 or 2 big plays, just enough for them. I like the way they're playing.
All right, number 3. Who should be the starting quarterback for your Pittsburgh Steelers?
I'm going to go with the Duck. I mean, he's 2-0. We had them on a night when nobody believed in him.
Sunday night against the Chargers.
Sunday night against the Chargers, and he came through for them. He gave them a little spark. He wasn't great today, but I think the players believe in him. I really do.
And, you know, Coach, he's not afraid. He's not afraid to sling that ball down the field, and that's what those wide receivers do, because as soon as he came in, it seemed like they got excited. The energy went up. So I would say the Duck as well.
Do you think there was any carryover from all the stuff that happened with the Cleveland game with Mason Rudolph? Because you obviously had the altercation, but also the stuff that came up during the appeal of the suspension for Myles Garrett. Was there a racist comment in there? And the league said no, and there were no other reports of it, anybody who was around it, but there was no microphone there. All of that conversation. Could that have impacted him in any way?
Well, but the thing is, he was still horrible. I mean, in all due respect to Mason Rudolph, he threw 4 interceptions before all hell broke loose in the Cleveland game, right? Okay. So I don't know whether what happened last week makes a difference anyway, because he was falling apart without the distractions.
Yeah, it had to be a distraction, and then you throw in no Juju Smith-Schuster, no James Conner, your weapons aren't there, and he struggled.
But if you make that move, do you have to stick with it?
I think you do. Otherwise, when Mike Tomlin made the move, I was surprised today. But to me, once you make it, you're pushing down the road with that.
But, Tony, that also speaks to the stability we often talk about with Pittsburgh as an organization. There are folks who would feel the panic. We drafted this guy, Rudolph. We used a higher pick. We have to stick with him. But in Pittsburgh, you know, one personnel decision is not going to be the reason that you get let go as a head coach. So Kevin Colbert in the front office and Mike Tomlin, their job security helps you make decisions like this.
It does,
so.
no doubt.
Nobody's taking Paxton Lynch? He's still on the roster.
He is on the roster.
Mike, question number 4. Who are the front runners for the 2 AFC Wild Card spots with 5 weeks left?
Well, right now they're Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Do you think those will be the 2?
I like Buffalo.
I like Buffalo.
Right where they are.
I like Buffalo to win, right? And I like Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh because their defense, those defensive ends getting to the quarterback, applying pressure, and they just seem to kind of, you know, just galvanize that defense.
Then I really think Cleveland is coming on.
Yep.
They're starting to play now. They got a big game. There's going to be a lot of emotion in that game next week. And I think the winner of that game, Pittsburgh-Cleveland game, is going to push forward and be that second wild card.
Can I sidebar on that for 30 seconds? He's not an experienced head coach. He's going through his first year. But if Freddie Kitchens happens to be listening to this or watching this, what 30-second piece of advice would you as a veteran coach give him about how to address this week, given all the angst that is laying out there from Pittsburgh-Cleveland last week?
You have got to put it behind you. You almost have to do the Bill Belichick. Forbid those guys to speak about it. We're not talking about what happened before. We're not talking about anything. We're focused on the game, and we've got to move forward, and we've got to keep our emotions in check. He just can't let those guys get into it.
And do you start like on Wednesday when your team comes back for your day off?
Here's what we're
right away.
Going to tell.
But the key is this. You know, the message comes from the coach. It goes to the leaders in that locker room, and it's up to the leaders and the captains and the guys that you trust and believe to really communicate that message throughout the locker room.
That's a great point. I'm going to give you a watch out on Tennessee. You know, Ryan Tannehill's playing good ball. I happened to talk to Mike Vrabel. I spoke with him because his son is the starting left tackle at Boston College. He's doing a nice job, Tyler. So I spoke to Mike about that before we did the Notre Dame BC game on Saturday. And as we were getting done with the conversation, I said, how's Tannehill done for you? And he said, the guys in the room seem to be responding. His running, the things he does, his energy, it seems like it's a positive. Whereas with Mariota, maybe because it was a high pick and their pick, there was always the worry about, oh, man, if he makes a mistake, do we stay with the franchise quarterback? That energy is there with Tannehill, and he's 4-1 as a starter. Watch those guys here down the stretch.
And if I'm one of the teams that is going to host a divisional round game, I don't want the Colts showing up.
Oh.
The Colts are 6-5, but there's several games they could have won, should have won. The 2 games when Jacoby Brissett was injured, and I was surprised they lost Thursday night. I thought they were going to beat the Texans. They still have some opportunities to work their way into it. I don't want to see them if I'm the Patriots, Ravens, Texans, or Chiefs in the playoffs.
I just wanted to make sure I got it right. That game is in Indy next week. Tennessee plays Indy. That'll be an important game. All right, here we go. It is Rodney's favorite time. Not the speed round questions, but the speed round music. Thanks, Rodney. So I'll come to you first since you're asleep. Who's the best wide receiver in the NFL?
Michael Thomas.
Who's never double covered?
Never double covered. 100 catches in 11 weeks, and you still don't double cover.
Best wide receiver?
That's a good one. DeAndre Hopkins is pretty good. Michael Thomas, though, to do it and keep putting up these numbers week after week after week and do it with 2 quarterbacks.
If they get the #1 seed, the Saints, he should get some MVP votes because it's not like Drew Brees is going to get him. He missed 5 games. And what Thomas means to that team and what he does for that team week in and week out, no matter who the quarterback is, I say Michael Thomas, and I say let's see how the dust settles on the season and see if he gets some MVP votes.
Best word to describe the Raiders' loss to the Jets today?
One word.
Okay, that's good. That'll count. That'll count.
Yeah, but you know, these happen. In 1999, we had a really good team in Tampa. We were on a 6-game winning streak. We went to Oakland and lost 45-0. And then we came back and went to the NFC Championship game. This was one of those games that just nothing went right. East Coast trip, throw it away. Let's see what they do next week.
Yeah, it's predictable. It's predictable. It's one that you saw coming. Cross country. The 6-4 was maybe a little inflated for where they are right now, and the Jets are getting hot, and it's wet out, and it's windy, and it's not a surprise.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'll just say disappointed. You know, I was really rooting for John Gruden. I thought he's done a really great job this year of motivating his team, and I thought they were going to make this East Coast trip and go out there and kick some butt.
Youthful. When you really do a deep dive on them, they've got a lot of young guys. And this is one of the first spots they were expected to win a game with all those other things. Now let's see how they play in Kansas City next week.
You know what they look like to me? They look like a California team that was cold. That is just they weren't ready to go.
Best word to describe Frank Gore, third on the all-time list in terms of rushing yards.
Consistent. Tough and consistent. That's what he's been over his career.
Durable. I mean, durable is one of the words, but it's not strong enough. He is a Hall of Famer. That's not one word, but without question. And it amazes me that there are people who make the argument he isn't because, oh, he never was the MVP. He never was the best running back in football. So what? He's been doing it year after year after year, the toughest position to play in football, and he just keeps going, even after the ACL tears he had at the college level, and he just has been remarkable.
October 14, 2008. Coach Dungy said that Frank Gore was not a Hall of Famer when I asked him last year. Have you changed your mind?
I have changed my mind. When you pass Barry Sanders and Jerome Bettis and all these guys, and you're only behind Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith, you got to be a Hall of Famer.
Where'd you get the date from?
I just made it up. Where do you think I got it from?
He does keep track of what I say now. He does write it down.
17 brilliant people who do research over here, and you're just making stuff up. What a country.
But he did say it.
What a country.
I did say that.
Can the
I
Falcons...
thought it was about 4 years ago.
Can the Falcons... I need to go home. Can the Falcons beat the Saints again?
No.
No? We shouldn't say because we're doing the game. We should just let the Warriors.
Yes.
We can't pick the game.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Well,
I can say no.
Asking us if they can.
Yes,
Yeah,
they can, and everybody should
Good
tune
point.
in
Thank
Thursday
you.
night to see these three guys, and the Falcons can give the Saints a heck of a game.
You're going to be watching,
I
Mike?
didn't think they could.
Yes, I'll be watching.
No, I didn't think
It
for
ain't
a
nothing
second.
else to do
So
on Thanksgiving but watch football. So no, and they're going to continue to watch.
What do you mean they can't do anything else? Because don't you have game night around your house? Like Thanksgiving night?
Tune into the game.
Watch
Rodney
the game.
Harrison said they had no chance to win.
No, watch the game. But people have game night. Like the family gets together and they do silly things like they say, okay, let's play charades. Or let's play, or why don't you act like you're on TV? Like Rodney did, for example. He just all of a sudden tried to act like he was going to be the TV host. I don't know if we have that or not. Yeah, we do?
All righty, Al. Coming up at halftime, Tony Rodney are going to break down the first half. The first half in.
Everything you do is recorded here.
None of you have figured that out yet.
You guys are just
Happy Thanksgiving, though.
Happy
really.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you. We hope you have happy Thanksgiving. We're done. We have nothing else to say, except we'll see you next week. Seriously, have a great Thanksgiving, you and your family. Safe travels to your loved ones. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.